add-ons are based on appearances and on European qualification. Now, based on that, we think that Brighton are very confident that they will achieve all of these conditions whereby they will receive the full £115 million. On top of that, Brighton have a significant sell-on. That hasn't been made public, but we're told it is significant. The contract for Moises Caicedo runs until 2031, so it's an 8-year contract plus the option of a further 12 months. Now, just a little bit of insight into all of the negotiations, particularly over the last few days. There's been lots of talk that the co-owners, Todd Burley and Bernard Egbali, took over the negotiations. But it's my information that the co-sporting director, Paul Winstanley, was instrumental in these negotiations to get Moises Caicedo from Brighton to Chelsea. If you look back at what Brighton bought him for, 2021 in February, but 2.5 years ago, £4.5 million from Independiente del Valle. So you're talking about a profit of over £110 million. It's extraordinary. And we're told that Independiente del Valle have got a sell-on clause themselves, so they'll be in the money. What we're just waiting for now, we think it's at that contract signing stage, and a formal announcement could be made as soon as tonight.
Amazing bit of business. Mark, so Liverpool pipped to the post for Caicedo. Is it going to be déjà vu with Romeo Lavia?
This is an amazing story at the moment, and once again, Liverpool and Chelsea going toe-to-toe for the same player. Now, this has been going on for some time. We know that Southampton have rejected a number of bids over the course of this summer's transfer window with regards to Romeo Lavia. However, this morning there was a breakthrough for Liverpool. They agreed a deal with Southampton worth up to £60 million for the 19-year-old midfielder. However, as things stand, there has been no progression on that agreement with Liverpool. We know that Chelsea are interested in the player and talks continue. However, they have not agreed a deal as we come on air this evening. We know that Chelsea's most recent offer that was rejected was worth £48 million. We heard Russell Martin, I was at the game on Saturday, say that he didn't select Romeo Lavia because he didn't feel he was in the right state of mind to play for Southampton at the weekend. Things have obviously progressed since then. But, Mike, you'd have to draw your own conclusions. The fact that Liverpool this morning agreed a deal worth up to £60 million, but he isn't on Merseyside for a medical, would suggest that potentially the player's preference would be to join Chelsea. However, they haven't agreed a deal yet.
Yeah, ouch for Liverpool again. Right. I started this programme by saying they're very close, Chelsea, to spending £1 billion on transfers. I can't be the only one thinking, how does that work with FFP?
Well, FFP is quite complicated, and it's done in trenches which go over 3 years and accounting periods that go over 1 year. Now, you'll have to go back to just June, where Chelsea were desperately trying to offload a number of players before the end of the financial year because it would have sat in their previous year's accounts. Football contracts are done from July the 1st to the end of June. So obviously we're in now a new financial period. So they've got a little bit more flexibility. So they can spend as much as they want in this summer's window. And essentially they've got until June the 30th next year to recoup the money back. So they'll probably be spending money thinking, well, we'll make player sales in January. We'll make player sales next summer. And therefore we can balance our books. So that will be point number one. The other thing to just point out as well, and this could be hugely significant for Chelsea, we know that there's a cloud hanging over the football club at the moment with regards to this investigation from the Premier League for their potential financial rule breaches. On the 28th of July, UEFA fined them €10 million. So they've had a fine from UEFA, but the Premier League investigation is still ongoing. You'll notice that a number of the players that they've signed have all been young. They've been young players and they've given long contracts to the players. So therefore, they could be thinking, well, if we suffer any further penalties with regards to transfer embargoes or fines or any penalties that say we can't sign players, we don't have to worry because we've signed a number of young players that are going to be at the football club for a long period of time. So they could be protecting themselves from any further penalties that happen. Okay. But, of course, this will go on for some time.
It should be noted here as well, Mark touched on it there about the sales. And it's almost unnoticed now, but Chelsea have sold a lot of players during this transfer window and they've made some good money on some of these players. If you just look at two of them, Mason Mount and Kai Havertz as well, you're talking the thick end of £120 million already. And then you're talking about some of the players that left to go to Saudi Arabia, those fees that came into the football club as well, and add on to all of that, all of these players would have been on big wages, so all of those wages have come off the books as well. Another player, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, I mean, forgot about him. Christian Pulisic, both going to AC Milan, bringing in transfer fees and the wages coming off the books as well.
In excess of 200 million they've raised so far this summer.
No, that's a very good point. All right. Speaking of mega money, Neymar off to the Saudi Pro League. Is this really close?
Yeah, this one's getting closer. Of course, you'll all remember when PSG handed over that very famous €220 million cheque to Barcelona to get him. Well, he's leaving PSG. We know that Al Hilal have agreed a fee worth €100 million. Neymar is going to be receiving £130 million a year in his wages. PSG are happy because not only have they recouped a huge chunk of the money they spent on him, but they will no longer have to continue to pay his wages because he did have 3 years left on his current contract. So this will be seen as a win-win for both Al Hilal, who pursued Messi, and then Mbappe, but have finally got their superstar in Neymar. It's our understanding he'll sign a 2-year contract and he'll link up with Ruben Neves from Wolves, who went to Al Hilal, and Kalidou Koulibaly, a player that Chelsea sold to Al Hilal as well this summer.
Good point. All right, let's talk Manchester United now. Why have one Onana when you can have two?
Yeah, potentially, yeah. Look, the bulk of their incoming business has been done, as we've been speaking about during this window. Close to £175 million plus on the likes of Højlund and Mount and Andre Onana. The next one they're interested in is the Everton midfielder Amadou Onana. No offer yet, but we think that Everton value him in the region of £60 million. Now, with Fred sold to Fenerbahce for €15 million, Donny van der Beek as well in talks about a move away. We know that Real Sociedad are interested. It just will be an assessment on Manchester United's part whether they can go back into the market for a player like Onana, or indeed Sofian Amrabat from Fiorentina, or whether they need to make further sales to be able to purchase anyone of that calibre with that transfer fee that it would command. With regard to Amrabat, that one seems to have moved a little bit closer than the Onana one. The Onana one is an interest stage at the moment. With Amrabat, initial talks have happened with Fiorentina. They're aware of Manchester United's interest. Amrabat wants to make the move to Manchester United. He's got a year left on his contract. Fiorentina have got the option to extend that for a further year. So maybe with that in mind, they think they may be able to just raise that transfer fee just a little bit more. But United are in the market to bring in players, but it is likely to depend on departures.
Speaking of departures then, Harry Maguire, where are we with this?
Well, so everything with West Ham United, we understand, is done. The agreement is done for £30 million. Personal terms aren't expected to be a problem between West Ham United and Harry Maguire. It's our understanding, though, that Harry Maguire and his exit from Manchester United, be that any kind of severance pay, that's still under discussion. So once that is sorted, that one is expected to accelerate a bit more and he'll be given permission to have a medical with West Ham United. But as far as Erik ten Hag is concerned, he was asked a question in his pre-match news conference on Friday afternoon, I think. And he's happy for Harry Maguire to stay, but he's going to have to fight for his place. The decision is going to have to be Harry Maguire's. Even though Manchester United have agreed this deal and probably sent that message, we've agreed, now it's up to you, it just appears that it will be Harry Maguire who will end up making that decision because he's still under contract at United.
Mark, we heard that United interested in Benjamin Pavard. Is that move dependent on Maguire going out of the door?
Well, Manchester United have done their due diligence on a number of players should they have offers for the likes of Fred and McTominay and Harry Maguire and so on and so forth. They didn't want to get themselves into a position where they were chasing players at the last stages of the window. So they have done due diligence. Benjamin Pavard, 27-year-old, currently into the last year of his contract at Bayern Munich, is one of those players. He can play at centre-half or at right-back as well, so he brings that versatility. There has been initial contact between Manchester United and Bayern Munich, but no formal offer as of yet. Our understanding is that Benjamin Pavard would love to come to the Premier League and join Manchester United. It's fascinating because World Cup winner, Champions League winner, he brings all of that big-time experience that would be vital for Erik ten Hag in that United dressing room. Highly rated player. versatile as well. So this is one to monitor. He would certainly feature very high up the top of Manchester United's list should they look to replace Maguire and bring in extra defensive reinforcements.
All right, I want to talk about deals done. James Ward-Prowse, finally a hammer. So talk us through this deal.
Yeah, 20 years at Southampton. A long time down on the south coast. Born in Portsmouth, by the way, Portsmouth fan, but played for their arch rivals for a number of years.
He's a Portsmouth fan?
Yeah.
Wow.
400 plus appearances. I might have just outed him there, but never mind.
Well, it's all right. He's left Southampton
He's left
now.
Southampton.
Right.
400 plus appearances for the club. He's their record appearance maker in the Premier League on 343 over 11 years. It got confirmed by West Ham today. David Moises hugely excited about the signing of James Ward-Prowse, 28 years old, still got a lot to offer. We know his strengths on the pitch as well. He signed a contract that will keep him in East London until the summer of 2027 for a fee which we understand to be £30 million.
And the social media channels, I loved it. West Ham United did a great job on that one because they said introducing our new 7 iron. He's got that golf celebration.
Of course, yeah.
And iron with
nice.
irons. See what they've done there.
I got it, Tom's. Lucas Paquetta. What's the story with that one?
Yeah, I mean, positive news. We're talking about Harry Maguire potentially coming. You know, James Ward-Prowse has arrived at the football club as well. But Manchester City now really are pushing to try and sign Lucas Paquetta from West Ham United. It's all been verbal so far. And the initial verbal bid that came in last week, we think was around £60 million. David Moyes has already said that it was rejected out of hand. It's clear West Ham don't want to sell for obvious reasons. It's been fantastic for them, particularly the last 3 months of last season. But they are aware of Paquetta's desire to move, to go to the treble-winning champions, to play under Pep Guardiola, to play in the Champions League this season as well. But look, he's been professional about it all. He's been training as normal, and he played against Bournemouth on Saturday.
So what should we read into that? Because that was really interesting, I thought.
Yeah, but look, as long as nobody meets the valuation, West Ham United will play Lucas Paquetta because he is their player. He's got 4 years left on his contract still, plus the option of a further year. So I think he is pretty aware that he's still a West Ham United player, and he is respectful of West Ham United of, let's get the fair market value for this guy, because we bought him last summer for £51 million. It wasn't a cheap deal. He's our player. So I think he's properly aware that West Ham United hold the cards here to a certain degree. It's just whether it gets to the point where he would start agitating. But all the signs at the moment suggest that he's not going to do that. But we are expecting Manchester City to continue to push. And it'll be very interesting to see now if Manchester City are going to accelerate this deal. Only because you saw Kevin De Bruyne come off in the Friday Night Football against Burnley. Pep Guardiola has since said that it's the same issue or in the same area, this hamstring problem, that forced him off early in the Champions League final against Inter Milan at the end of last season. So it'd be definitely one to watch here because Lucas Paquetta, fantastic player for West Ham United, Manchester City now really, really pushing.
Now, we always get a clue, don't we, if clubs are thinking about selling a player, when they start looking at players who play in the same position. Are West Ham doing that? Yeah,
I mean, sometimes you can put 2 and 2 together and not get 4, but they are doing due diligence. And it's a famous phrase of this transfer window, but due diligence seems to be the phrase that clubs use when they are looking for other players. Manchester United, we mentioned, have been doing it. West Ham are doing it, particularly in the midfield area. And we're told that they made an initial inquiry to Ajax over their midfielder, Mohamed Kudus, who has been of interest to a number of Premier League clubs. There was talk that Brighton might have agreed a deal in principle a couple of weeks ago. That hasn't materialised into a formal transfer just yet. But it is a player that West Ham United are looking at. But it should also be said here, he's one of a number of players that West Ham United are looking at.
Are they looking at a blast from the past?
Why not? I think we'll probably just put the information out there and let West Ham fans and people decide what they think might happen with this one. Jesse Lingard is training with David Moyes' squad. We know he had not the greatest time at Nottingham Forest last season, just the 17 appearances in the Premier League, suffered a couple of injury problems, hasn't signed anywhere so far this summer. He's a free transfer, so he can go where he wants. We know that he had a hugely successful loan spell from Manchester United from January to last summer in the previous season. 9 goals in 16 Premier League appearances. But as things stand, he's just training with the squad to keep his fitness levels up. We know that the club love him. He had a great spell there. Perhaps an outside chance, something could potentially happen. We know that he has a little bit of interest, but never say never. And if West Ham continue to lose players in this summer's window, they'll be looking at people who they know, understand the club, and they know have Premier League quality. And Jesse Lingard is certainly one of those.
It absolutely is. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, are Everton raiding Ellen Road? We've got news on that. And could injuries alter Arsenal's transfer policy? That and more to come. See you in a moment. we have our first Monday Night Football of the Premier League season. That is Andre Onana hoping to make his competitive debut for Manchester United this evening. Now, Manchester United have got a fabulous record at home. They've only lost once in their last 12 Premier League home games. Who beat them? Wolverhampton Wanderers. We'll keep you updated with the arrivals and the team news right here on Sky Sports News. And we'll also keep you updated with Everton raiding Ellen Road for wingers. Wilf Gnonto, what's the story with that?
Yeah, Wilfred Gnonto, a player that is very much of interest to Everton at the moment. The 19-year-old only joined Leeds last summer from Zurich for around £4 million. But a number of the Leeds players have release clauses in their contracts to enable them to go out on loan this summer if Leeds got relegated to the Championship, which as we know, is the case. Sean Dyche wants extra firepower up front. He wants to try and deliver a more attacking style to Everton. And Gnonto is a player that is their number one target in that position at the moment.
But haven't Leeds said he's not going?
They have. However, there are clauses in place within contracts which mean sometimes, in certain situations, there's very little they can do. If a player wants to go and the clause is there and the buying club want to meet the clause, then he can go. Our understanding is that Gnonto is open to joining Everton and will be willing to join and link up with Sean Dyche as well. So this is one to monitor. We know at this stage it's just interest from Everton to Leeds.
OK, and what about Jack Harrison?
Yeah, this is a deal that's been confirmed. It's a loan deal from Leeds to Everton. He's going to be out for 3 or 4 weeks, though, which has put some clubs off signing Harrison. So he's not going to have an immediate impact for Sean Dyche and Everton, but he signed a season-long loan. He was one of the key targets for Sean Dyche this summer. No question about it. His numbers stack up. There was interest from Newcastle at one stage as well. There are a number of, not in this window, but there have been another sort of series of Premier League clubs that have all said, what's the deal with him? Because we like him. Effective player, works really hard. Good energy about the team as well, good number of assists and goals, and you can see why Everton have gone to action that deal. But yeah, season-long loan.
Right. Darmish, I feel like we've been talking about David Raya to Arsenal for ages. So much so, I thought it was done. But it's not quite done, is it?
I was just checking the Arsenal Twitter account, actually, just to make sure that they hadn't timed it just for our transfer show. They haven't. Well, not this one, anyway. But we understand they have a full agreement, Arsenal do, with Brentford for the signing of David Raya. He's completed his medical. We think all the formalities are done. The formal signing of the contract's possibly done as well. We're just waiting for that formal announcement. A reminder of that deal, he actually signs on loan for £3 million from Brentford, with Arsenal holding the option to make it a permanent deal for a further £27 million. And I think the option could turn into an obligation depending on certain conditions like appearances and maybe other conditions as well. But as it stands, no formal announcement, but we're expecting one soon.
Stay with Arsenal. Kieran Tierney, rumblings about him. What's going on there?
Yeah, this is going to be one to monitor over the course of the next few days and weeks. And we've got a little bit of an update on this as well, because we understand that Newcastle retain an interest in Kieran Tierney. Wasn't involved in the matchday squad this weekend for Arsenal's game against Nottingham Forest. The 26-year-old has fallen out of favour really in North London. However, he still has 3 years left on his current contract. Now, we understand that Newcastle have to be very clever and creative with the players that they sign between now and the end of the window because of FFP. Eddie Howe said he would dearly love to add to his squad where possible. However, they don't have huge funds to do it. There are a number of clubs that are interested in Kieran Tierney. Real Sociedad seem to be the most keen at this stage on potentially taking him on loan. We understand that Arsenal value him at £25 million, which is what they paid for him in 2019. However, the clubs that have expressed an interest have all said, what's the deal with regards to a loan? So this is going to be one to monitor. We know that that's an area of the pitch that Eddie Howe's looking to strengthen at left back. They do have Target, they do have Sven Botman who can play there.
Mark, I've got to stop you. We've run out of time.
First for everything.
But listen, tune in at 7 because we've got so much more to talk about. I'm back with Sky Sports News next.